Let's talk about Celsius. Now, Celsius is an interesting stock. For one, it's the holdings company of three major energy drink brands, one being Celsius, right? The other being Alani Nu, and the third being Rockstar. And the interesting thing about Rockstar is they actually only own the rights to Rockstar in the US and Canada. So Rockstar is actually distributed in, I want to say 30 countries total, but they, with their deal or rights acquisition, they only have the rights to Rockstar in the US and Canada. Now, these are the two major markets, so that's obviously a plus, but they don't fully own Rockstar in every market, at least not right now. But yeah, so I have this illustration here that's going to kind of help us. Just kind of quickly made this for the sake of the video, but it's going to help us in the video just kind of go through what Celsius actually is, and it kind of is going to give me a little bit more structure. So let's start with competition, right? So Celsius is obviously an energy drink, if we're talking about the brand itself, but even the stock, right? That it owns three energy drink companies, and some of the big players in this field or sector are obviously one Red Bull, two Monster, three Bloom. This is more of a direct competitor with Celsius when it comes to market share, mind share, demographic, all that stuff. Bloom is pretty neck and neck with Celsius. And then we have Ghost, and of course there's a number of other ones, but these are kind of the ones that came to mind. In terms of company size, Red Bull and Monster are much bigger competitors than Bloom and Ghost. But yeah, so these are kind of the competitors that exist as of right now. Now, what are the pros and cons of each of these beverages, at least right now? Now, Red Bull is obviously the energy drink staple, especially amongst the older demo. I would say 25 or 30 plus. Red Bull is crushing it with mind share, with consumer rapport, and things like this. It really is just that energy drink you think of when you think of an energy drink. I'm 23, so in my opinion, it still kind of is. Definitely not as much as it used to be. It's my opinion on the whole market of energy drinks is there isn't really one. Definitely more so Celsius, but obviously I have a bias with just the things I interact with daily. But I'll explain that in a little bit as of why that is. But yeah, so Celsius I mean, Red Bull is obviously that, energy drink staple. Now, we have Monster, which is in the same field, right? The brand name is literally Monster, which is kind of the epitome of representing energy drinks and just energy, raw energy, chaos, things like this. Same with Red Bull. Gives off that same vibe. But my opinion is, with the whole health trend, right? And consumers becoming more health conscious, how likely is it for these type of brands to continue to capture market share and mind share with the emergence of health and things like this? This is just one point, but it's something interesting to think about. A brand like Monster, to be able to pivot and really capture this trend and successfully capture it, it's going to be a bit tricky. I think the only thing that they've really done is introduce, zero sugar. But at the end of the day, the first impression of Monster Energy is, Monster Energy. So it's interesting to think about. Maybe it doesn't even affect it down the line. Who knows? Maybe I'm just overthinking it. But it's interesting to think about. But when you look at an energy drink like Bloom, right? It's a completely different feeling. Now, this energy drink caters much more to the female demographic rather than male, at least right now. But you can just tell it's a completely different vibe than a energy drink like Monster, right? If we just look at them side to side. So it's interesting to think about. This is a much newer energy drink, obviously, but Monster has been around since, I don't know, they've been around for a while. Same with Red Bull. Another interesting thing is Red Bull actually expanded internationally first rather than just capturing the US market. But Monster, like Celsius, started in the US and then expanded that way. But Red Bull actually started outside of the US. I'm not sure where specifically. I know the whole story of Red Bull is like the CEO was in Thailand, or something like this and try to drink there, and came to the US or came somewhere else and decided to make the drink for himself and labeled it Red Bull. But I think it was initially advertised as like an anti-jet lag drink or something. But I'm yapping. So that's competition. Now, when it comes to the consensus of Celsius, the reason I made this is really just to understand what do people think right now about Celsius, and what is the consensus. I feel like really analyzing the consensus of an equity is something that's not done that often, and it's really underrated. Just like really looking at the pillars of reason and why people believe what they believe about the stock, and obviously why the stock is trading at the price that it's trading at. So a few kind of brief points I have listed here. We'll start with the narrative. The current narrative of Celsius when it comes to the price, if we look at what it's trading at, give me 1 second. Let me pull up the chart here. Celsius is currently trading at $34.09 a share if you want to look at aftermarket. But if we go to the all, you can see it's an interesting chart, right? We have the rally from 2020 to 2024. The growth narrative was strong. People were saying this is going to overthrow Red Bull, yada, yada, yada. Then we have this huge downturn, which was, I think, nearly an 80% downturn, right? What was it trading at? I mean, this doesn't even really show what it got up to. It got up to nearly $100 a share, I think. If you look on TradingView, I think it gets up to $100 a share. But yeah, it was nearly an 80% drawdown due to a distribution issue or an accounting issue with the whole Pepsi deal and stuff. I guess they over-ordered or something. I'm not too well versed on the whole situation, but it is something to do with the Pepsi distribution and with inventory. I think they just completely over-ordered inventory and they had to cut back on their orders, and it just got reflected in the public markets quite negatively. Now, the current narrative is one macro, right? So we have the war going on, which is definitely being reflected across kind of all consumer stocks. And then recently there was a Costco dilemma. Now, what happened with the Costco dilemma is so just funny to me. I think it's completely just blown out of proportion, in my opinion. I think it's just not nearly as important as the market believes it is. So basically what happened is Kirkland, which is, Costco's main brand. I'm not sure if Costco owns Kirkland. I think they do. I'm not sure. I really don't know. But Kirkland's obviously, that brand that you think about when you think about Costco. And Kirkland went ahead and made a energy drink. So this is the energy drink they made. I've watched a few videos and reviews. I haven't tried it myself. But this is the energy drink they made. And the real value proposition of this energy drink is the fact that each can, you can only buy it in packs, but each can is 70 cents. So if we look at Celsius, I think Celsius's retail, even if you buy it in packs, comes out to somewhere around $2.50 or something, somewhere around there. So from that standpoint, it's pretty wowing, right? It's interesting. You're like, wow, okay, they made an energy drink that's 70 cents a can. Meanwhile, there's something like Celsius that's costing $2.50. So from that impression, you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is a no-brainer. Kirkland's going to take over, yada, yada, yada. But the more you really look at the energy drink market and just energy drink companies in general, you'll understand that the moat isn't really around the price point. Obviously, you can't sell an energy drink for $20, something like this, $10. But the real moat comes from distribution. It really comes from where are your energy drinks being sold. Now Celsius has a deal with Pepsi, like we were kind of talking about earlier. And this is one of the biggest moats with Celsius, along with their demo, the market that they're in, mostly catering to the female demographic, and flavor profiles as well is definitely another moat, and just the general, like there's a good amount of moats with Celsius. If we want to get into that too, I could talk about that as well, which I probably should. But yeah, so basically Costco went ahead and launched this Kirkland drink. The market was down 10% in a day, I think, or like 7% because of this. And yeah, it was pretty interesting. I still just think it was way blown out of proportion. I was doing some research on other brands that Costco actually did this with and how it affected the brand itself. and the brand I came across was LaCroix. So LaCroix is a flavored sparkling water company. I'll actually pull it up right here. God, I'm actually yapping, but LaCroix is a flavored sparkling water company, right? It's this brand. And Costco did the same thing. They did the same playbook. This was being sold in Costco. Costco went ahead and made their own Kirkland brand version of this. Now, did it really take away market share from LaCroix? Short term, maybe very briefly, but long term, no. Within Costco, did it take market share? Yeah. But did it really affect the brand profile or the brand identity? No. Long term, it didn't do anything to LaCroix. And I believe it's going to be the same thing for Celsius. I don't really see a world where, this type of drink is going to just overthrow this and send the stock to zero. I really just don't. In my opinion, this drink looks like it was made with ChatGPT or something. Like the branding, the vibe of it. There's no identity with a brand like this. No one really wants to be seen with a Kirkland energy drink, right? And these things play a huge role into the energy drink market. A sense of identity, things like this, being able to go out and be seen with certain energy drinks plays a huge role. It communicates things about yourself. So, yeah. So that was interesting. Now, I would say the general consensus around Celsius is it's a premium growth energy drink company for one. But it's really just that energy drink that's an alternative to Red Bull and Monster that's really catering towards the health trend and definitely leaning more towards the female demographic. I think that's the general overview of Celsius. Now, if you're a bull on Celsius, you think we're still early in terms of the true size that Celsius Holdings can get to, and it's a great opportunity to take a position. But if you're a bear, you think that this company is overvalued. You think that this has a huge impact on the future of the company's success. And you think growth is going to progressively slow as more and more competitors enter the market and things like this. But those are kind of the two frames of thought for what people think when it comes to this stock. Now, the third thing I want to touch on is social signal. And this is where I think my edge really comes from when it comes to my bullishness on Celsius as a stock. When it comes to social signal, I spend a lot of time on social media. I run a PR agency part-time for influencers and creators. So I'm constantly on social media, and I'm constantly recognizing just even micro trends and things like this. So one of the things I've noticed is Celsius and Alani and just all the companies that they own, they have the best influencer partnerships, UGC campaigns, product placements, better than any other energy drink company right now, hands down. Monster does not compete with them. The only other one that could compete with them is Red Bull, but they just can't compete. For instance, here's a recent video that Clavicular. Can I bring this to the front? Hold on. Sorry, guys. Give me 2 seconds. Here we go. Wait. Bring to... Here we go. So recently, Clavicular made a video where he sat down with Dr. Miami. If you guys aren't familiar with Clavicular, he's arguably the most famous dude on the internet right now, and he just talks about looks maxing. Now, he recently made a video with Dr. Miami, and throughout this video, there was an Alani Nu on this table. Now, I don't know if this is intentional. I kind of always believe everything's intentional, so I think this was intentional, and it leads me to believe that there's some sort of deal or partnership with Clavicular and Celsius. But this just shows, this is on the table. This is at 48K views. But that's besides the point. The actual metrics of this video is besides the point. But it just shows that there's things going on behind the scenes with Celsius and these creators. This is the top echelon of influencers as of right now, right? So this is a huge signal in my book, and not many people even talk about this. And another thing is, if we look at someone like TJR, who's very popular in the day trading space and is technically an influencer as well, he recently did a 30-day live stream with another guy, and the whole live stream was just around basically making this guy a profitable trader, and this was the trailer they dropped to that live stream, and you can see right here Celsius in the trailer. So this is definitely intentional. This is not accidental. This isn't a legitimate cinematic trailer. If you go and check out his account, you can see the trailer. But this is just another thing. So there's not many other energy drinks doing this. There's really just not. And if there is, reply to me on X and show me some stuff, because I'd love to check it out. But I think this is really a huge signal when it comes to Celsius. There's not another energy drink company that has this down to a T. They do not have the UGC content down to a T like Celsius does. If we go into Arb Terminal, you can actually see all of the recent TikTok posts relating to Celsius. So this basically shows every single TikTok post in real time that has been posted relating to Celsius. And you can just see here, there's so many Celsius ambassadors. Celsius ambassador at Celsius official. You can open these posts as well and actually see the post for yourself. But there's not many energy drink companies doing this. Red Bull is the only one that comes close to it at scale, the way that Celsius is. Now Bloom and these other smaller niche ones, maybe they have ambassador programs, don't get me wrong, but it's not at the scale that Celsius is. Celsius is capturing the most mindshare, hands down, of all demos, Gen Z and sooner. All of those demos are Celsius is doing a great job, I believe, in my opinion. Yeah, so you can see posts here. You can really just see how many of these posts are really Celsius partners and Celsius ambassadors. So it's interesting, right? Now you can do the same with the comment feed. This is all comments, and you can kind of see what people say, and they have sentiment attached to it as well, so you can see bullish or neutral. But it's interesting. It's very interesting. So yeah, the social signal side, Celsius is king for sure. Now here is something that's very interesting. This is Flo Rida. Now, if you don't know who Flo Rida is, he is a musician from Florida that, hence his name, Flo Rida, that had a bit of some complications with Celsius. So I guess there was some sort of agreement where he would be a brand ambassador, and they promised him X amount of money. And recently, as of 2 years ago, there was a lawsuit because he believed he wasn't paid the amount that they agreed upon. So there was a lawsuit around this, and he won, I think, $80 million. I think the settlement was $80 million that Flo Rida walked away with. And in the actual settlement, or the day that everything was settled and finalized, you can see on YouTube, if you search up just Flo Rida Celsius, you can see that he's actually drinking a Celsius as they come to the conclusion that he is being paid $80 million. Like, it's pretty funny. But yeah, this was definitely something that the market took into account as well. It was just kind of weird and made people wonder, how does something like this even happen? But I think they handled it pretty well, and the fact that they they came upon a settlement is also very good, I feel like, in my opinion. Now, obviously, you don't want things like this to happen in the first place, but this was super interesting. I would recommend you if you're interested in Celsius, whether you're a bull or a bear, look into the Flo Rida situation. Super interesting. Now, next we have management. I just have two pretty big players on the management team right here. So we have John Fieldly, who's the CEO, and then we have the CFO, which is Jared Langens. Their backgrounds mostly, they don't really have a background that consists of like building other successful Celsius companies, but something that's really reassuring is the actual insider ownership percentage. So right now I'm in Godel Terminal. Godel Terminal is owned by Martin Shkreli, and if you look at the insider ownership, Celsius's insider ownership is 28.44%, and we can cross-check this on FinViz as well. This is 26%. It's actually slightly more. When I first checked out Celsius, it was around like 35. But yeah, so Celsius's insider ownership is 28%, which is great in my opinion. I feel comfortable with any company that's insider ownership is more than 15%. It's kind of how I look at it, but 28% is great. So this is just kind of tying into the whole management thing. Obviously, you want to invest in great management. I know there's been certain scandals and things in the past, like the Florida situation and the Pepsi issue, and there was another, I think during that Pepsi distribution issue, I think it was like an accounting type of scandal that was backing it as well. So there's been a few things, but I think things like this are kind of inevitable with a rapidly growing company. You know, things get missed and get swept under the rug, and then they come to light down the line. So I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. I don't think these people are bad people per se, but yeah. So the CEO's John Fieldly, CFO's Jared Langens. There are, who else is on the board? There are obviously some other people, but yeah. When it comes to the price of Celsius, it is kind of tying into what we were talking about, the narrative, why the price is what it is. It really is because of this Kirkland situation, and then macro, at least in my opinion, is why it's getting beaten down so bad. But another thing that's really interesting to me is if I go to the earnings chart, right? So this is the EPS of Celsius over the years. It's the GAAP EPS. So we'll look at the non-GAAP as well. But if you look at the GAAP EPS, if we go to a time like 2024, so when Celsius was trading at nearly like $100 a share, this is back in, it's gonna let me see the time. This was back in May of 2024. May to June, I want to say March to May. So when Celsius was trading at $100 a share, right, from March to May of 2024, right around here, the non-GAAP EPS was 27 cents and 28 cents. So Celsius recently reported back-to-back quarters of more than 40-cent earnings. 47 cents, 42 cents. So they nearly doubled the earnings that were shown at their peak recently. But the price is trading at $30 a share, $34 a share. Is that not strange? I know there's a lot of other things that come into play for why that is, but that's another thing that's just so strange. Obviously, this is at the peak of the growth narrative, and that whole narrative was much more strong here. But if we're looking at the earnings, it's wild to think about, you know. Celsius is trading at $100 a share. The earnings at the time was 27 cents, 28 cents. Celsius is trading at $34 a share as of right now. The earnings are 47 cents, 42 cents, 26 cents, and consistently beating earnings as well. Now that's non-GAAP, but if we look at GAAP, it's somewhat of a different story. Sorry. If we look in 2024, yeah, here is where they reported the whole issue with the Pepsi distribution. I want to say November 6, 2024. Let's not glitch out. January, February, March, April, May, June. Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting to look at. If you look at the gap, it's a little bit of a different story, but most of this was due to the Alani distribution deal that they carried over into this quarter, I believe, or it was reflected into this quarter, where they had to pay the transfer fee or something. So that got reflected into this for sure. And then this was during that whole crazy sell-off where they reported zero, I want to say, and then they had that negative quarter. But yeah, what do you guys pay attention to? Do you guys more so look at GAAP or non-GAAP? I know Yahoo Finance reports non-GAAP, so I assume most people kind of reference that. But how do you take into consideration the two forms of earnings, or like how do you reason about it? because I always look back and forth between the two, but I find it pretty interesting. What else do we have on the chart here? So yeah, that's mostly it. I figured I would just make this video. How much time are we at? 25 minutes? Okay, 25 minutes of yap about Celsius. So yeah, I'm bullish. I'm definitely bullish on Celsius. It's a great company in my opinion. High insider ownership, great moat, great distribution deal. Taking over the younger gens when it comes to mind share and just brand identity, things like this. So for sure that. Another thing is the Amazon bestsellers list. If we look at this is in real time, so you can see within the top 20 drinks, Celsius, the holdings company, has, you know, the Alani Nu. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 product placements within Amazon. And I think Amazon makes up nearly like 40% of Celsius revenue. When it comes to revenue split of the actual company, like between these three, Celsius is like a little bit more than 50%, Alani's a little bit more than 40%, and then Rockstar's like less than 5%. So as of right now, like the most recent earnings. So that's something to kind of keep in mind as well. But yeah, it's interesting. Now, when it comes to Monster, of course the white Monster is number 2, but Celsius being number 1's huge as well. But that's another thing. I feel like Monster's being so carried just by this one flavor. Like, I don't know, random thought. But you have Bloom up here as well, like we were talking about earlier, another Monster. C4, which is owned by the same company that has, I don't know if the same company owns Bloom or they just have a large share in it. Ghost, and then yeah. The thing with these drinks, like C4 and Ghost, is you can't casually drink these, and they also have sugar, which is gonna make you feel much different than you would feel drinking a Celsius. So it's all these little things, you know, they compound. But if we look at the Google Trends for Celsius over the course of a year, here's this. Some other stuff to just consider. But yeah. Yeah, most of the recent news around Celsius is just around that whole Kirkland sell-off, but the Kirkland dilemma. But yeah. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think about Celsius? Are you more of a Monster fan? Are you more of a Red Bull fan? Do you have a position? Are you bullish or bearish? The earnings is on May 11th. I don't know if this is announced yet, so this isn't, I don't think this is final, but I don't know. But so May 11th, it's April 5th as of right now. So it's coming up. No recent insider buys when it comes to Celsius, but there was a few late 2025 when the stock went down to like, had that like 45 downturn where it was like at 60, and then let's see if we can look at it. Yeah, right here is where I want to say, yeah, some insiders took a position right here. So that's another thing. It's pretty bearish. I mean bullish. They're buying on the downturns, so that's something that's nice to know. They bought 450K worth. The director and then the COO bought 200 grand worth. So yeah, that's gonna wrap up this video. This is a little bit different of a video than I usually do. I really like doing this style of video. It's kind of like almost pitching the stock, but just giving my opinion on it. So let me know what stocks you guys want to see next. I'm just gonna do the stocks that I'm most invested in, not like necessarily financially, but just like interested in, and then I'll kind of do what you guys want to see. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time, make sure you follow me on X if you guys want to stay in the loop. Shoot me a DM, reply to my tweets. I'll, you know, conversate with you guys. I love to talk about stocks and stuff, so I'll see you guys there. Peace.